Hi, I'm Micah Halpern. Thank you for joining me today as I do some thinking out loud. Our first segment is called Background Briefing. The first thing I've been thinking about is the heinous crimes perpetrated on October 7th, 2023. These crimes, these atrocities cannot, I repeat, cannot be equated with any other event in world history. They have no parallel. There is no parallel. We, lovers of life and defenders of freedom, try to find parallels as a way to understand the unimaginable barbarism that was committed against innocent Israelis. It is only natural to try to reach and search for analogies. But there are none. Historical comparisons are inaccurate. They may be applicable in some small way, but unfortunately, they serve us no significant purpose except to muddy the analysis. Any comparison between the events of October 7th and any other event in world history is an analogy gone awry. October 7th, 2023 cannot be compared to the Holocaust or 9/11 or Pearl Harbor. I understand why the comparisons are made. It's for the sake of the impact that was made. It's because in our search for understanding, we want to categorize October 7th as Holocaust-like, as Israel's 9/11, as like Pearl Harbor. These are all used because of the element of surprise, because of the sheer numbers, because of the sheer animalistic brutality. Fortunately, the Jewish world today is nothing like Europe in the 1930s and 40s. Today we have Israel. 80, 90, 100 years ago, we did not. Israel is a Jewish state. It is our Jewish state. And one of the main objectives of the Jewish state is to defend and protect the Jews in Israel and abroad, by the way. Israel neither needs nor will rely on any other entity for its protection. The fact that Israel was created with the clear purpose of protecting Jews in Israel and around the world cannot be understated. It was the purpose, and still is the purpose, that gargantuan difference between then and now. After this war with Hamas, a reckoning will be coming. The leadership of Israel failed in their primary responsibility to protect its citizens, no doubt about it. The threats were foreseeable. They were expected. Every leader and almost every Israeli and lover of Israel went to bed on October 6th, knowing full well that Hamas was bent on Israel's destruction and would one day soon attempt to murder as many Jews as possible. This was not a surprise, and so they did. The brutality unleashed on October 7th harkened back to medieval times. But worse, again, no comparison. Although there was awful brutality perpetrated by Nazis and their local non-Jewish communities, wherever Jews lived, by and large, the Nazis controlled their anti-Semitism. For them, it was a tool. Again, no comparison. For example, on November 9th and 10th, 1938, the nightmare known as Kristallnacht, a number of brown shirts were actually arrested by the Nazis. Why? For being too brutal. 91 Jews were murdered on Kristallnacht. 7,500 Jewish businesses were burnt and destroyed. 267 synagogues destroyed. 30,000 Jewish men were arrested and sent to concentration camps. And several Nazi perpetrators were arrested for displaying too much brutality in following the orders to destroy. Again, the Nazis controlled their anti-Semitism and used it as a tool. In a famous speech delivered by Reinhard Heydrich, the high-ranking SS officer tells the SS that we control the anti-Semitism. It does not control us, he says. Nazis created factories of death, the gas chambers and crematoria, to murder Jews more efficiently. That was their rationale. The cost of bullets, the cost to the German psyche, especially the Einsatzgruppe and those mobile execution teams, was simply too high. Murdering by gas and then incinerating the bodies was quicker and cheaper. On October 7th, hundreds of bullets were sprayed into one Jew, and then another, and then another. They cared nothing about human life, let alone the efficiency or cost. Even the awful pogroms of Europe, perpetrated by Bogdan Khmelnytsky, the Cossack leader and hero of Ukrainian people, the monster who created the pogroms, never ordered his pogromists to murder 1,500 Jews in a single night? The Kishinev pogrom of 1903 was the most famous pogrom in the modern era, 1903 Kishinev. It took place April 19th through April 21st in Kishinev, which is in the province of Bessarabia in the country of Moldova, in the Russian Empire. After 2 days of murder, rapes, and burning, the Tsar's army finally came into Kishinev and stopped the pogrom. They were outside the city before that. Even in Kishinev, only 49 Jews were murdered, 92 seriously wounded, 500 lightly wounded. The news shook the world. Jews raced out of the Russian Empire seeking safe refuge in the United States and in Palestine. The Kishinev pogrom was the stimulus for the second Aliyah, the largest Aliyah, which went on from 1904 to 1914, the start of World War I. During the rush of immigration, 2.5 million Jews left Europe for the United States, and 35,000 Jews went to Palestine in the second Aliyah. As awful as Kishinev was, as awful as Kristallnacht was, the mass murder and the savagery of Hamas, marauding murderers, perpetrated in Israel on October 7th was worse. This Jewish massacre was pre-modern butchery with medieval carnage and a modern twist. October 7, 2023 is a historically unique devastation. Remember that. Coming up next, Points of View. First up is a column from the Wall Street Journal that was published on October 19th, 2023. It was written by David Efune, the publisher of the New York Sun. This is a powerful piece. It's entitled, "Give Me the Biggest Kippah You Can Find." Subtitled, "Jews Shouldn't Shrink from Their Religious Identity in the Face of Hamas's Attacks." With this column, Efune imparts an important lesson. It pains me that this issue needs to be addressed at all. But believe me, Jewish people, young and old, but especially young Jews, on campus, on college campuses, are shrinking from their Jewishness and hiding their Jewish identity. They're afraid. This is how David Efune begins. My grandmother was born in Vienna in 1931 to Charles and Bella Label. They gave her a traditional Jewish name, Chava, Hebrew for life. 9 years later, French nuns gave her a new name, Claudine Lambert, when they hid her and their sister in their convent as the Holocaust raged across Europe. Mercifully, she died on September 24th, 13 days before she would have had to witness the horrors of her youth reenacted by Hamas against Jews in Israel. Her story makes one sympathetic to the pleas from some of the Jewish community that all displays of Judaism should be avoided or minimized to avoid violence. Author J.K. Rowling tweeted a letter addressing this sentiment by Sarah Nachshon, an English Jewish mother, published in London Times. Ms. Nachshon writes that in the aftermath of the Hamas's massacre, her daughter's Jewish day school advised students not to wear their uniform blazers. Male classmates have been advised to cover their skull caps with baseball caps, she added. As the column continues, Efune cites a long list of Jewish and non-Jewish leaders alike, suggesting that we not wear identical Jewish dress. Efune characterizes this behavior as wrong. He quotes Elie Wiesel and then again J.K. Rowling, and he writes, following the deadly attack on the Jewish school in Toulouse, France in 2012, Nobel laureate and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel affirmed that judgment. Our own answer must be concrete and to the point, he wrote in the Allgemeiner. When we are persecuted, our response must be, we will remain Jewish and do everything to become more Jewish. The support of our non-Jewish friends helps. There should be mass outrage that this is necessary, Ms. Rowling wrote on Twitter. Public frustration can lead to creative solutions too. On International Holocaust Remembrance Day in 2016, the Italian newspaper Il Foglio distributed yarmulkes with its daily edition. The Berlin-based tabloid Bild printed a do-it-yourself kippah, a cutout on its front page in 2019. I, by the way, have a copy of that yarmulke. This column concludes with the acknowledgement that while it might be dangerous, David Efune is going to wear the largest kippah he can find, and he explains why. Publicly expressing one's Jewish faith can be a life-threatening decision. For my part, I will wear the most prominent yarmulke I can find. The best way to honor the memory of those slain for being Jewish is not to sacrifice a scintilla of our Jewish identity, but to express it to the extreme. As Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav wrote in the Kotei Ma'aran in 1808, the whole world is a narrow bridge. The main thing is to have no fear at all. This piece, of course, derives from its great resonance from Robert Welch's essay from April 4th, 1933, the Jüdische Rundschau. The piece was written almost 100 years ago, and it was entitled, Wear the Yellow Badge with Pride. Next up is a column by Lance Morrow, entitled Your Periodic Reminder That Evil is Real, and subtitled, Hamas's atrocities force us to confront the concept, though it doesn't take long for equivocation to begin. The piece, too, was published in the Wall Street Journal and appeared on October 24th, 2023. This is how Morrow begins. Justice Potter Stewart observed, Jacobus versus Ohio, that while hardcore pornography is difficult to define, I know it when I see it. The same is true for evil. A decent conscience, uncontaminated by ideology, knows what it's looking at. The torments that Hamas militants inflicted on October 7th, mass slaughter, rape, and beheading of incineration of babies, amounted to behavior that the high court of any uncorrupted intelligence in the world would describe as evil. What other word would be sufficient? Wicked, gruesome, atrocious, naughty? No one with any brains uses the word evil lightly. I tend to capitalize it, to give it the concept, vile, mysterious, theologically absolute, its metaphysical due. President Biden chose his language carefully when he spoke of the Hamas raids as pure, unadulterated evil. Since October 7th, the word from which people used to shy away from regarding it as radioactive, over the top, has become commonplace and almost unavoidable. Many people believe evil doesn't exist. That view is especially common among the rational and enlightened, who insist that events always have a scientific, clinical, or political explanation. They are mistaken. Evil is real, with a spooky, inscrutable life of its own. You might begin your studies in that last topic by reading Into That Darkness by Gitta Sereny. It's about how Franz Stangl, an ordinary Austrian policeman and family man, morphed into the monster who presided over the Nazi death camp at Treblinka. As the column continues, Morrow quotes from Hannah Arendt and her work Eichmann in Jerusalem. He writes, Evil is a phenomenon at once forbidden and fascinating, full of subtleties, savageries, fever dreams, devilish hallucinations, lies. It may be used to describe a genocide, the Holocaust was evil, or to incite one, annihilate the evil Jews. It's the last word of the entreaty in the Lord's Prayer, deliver us from evil. Hannah Arendt wrote of Eichmann's, his evil genius, for a paradox may end by reducing it to a terrifying banality. Or evil may be, as Cornell professor found, October 7th's attack, exhilarating and energizing, adjectives that also describe getting high on cocaine. October 7th demonstrated that evil may express itself as the ultimate depravity of politics. How this service to the hope of the Palestinian rights, dignity, and self-determination get perverted to the evil business of baby killing? Politics isn't a license to kill, rape, burn, or decapitate, but it is inevitably an invitation to lesser forms of wickedness, the sort of casual malice that overlords come to savor. Be careful. It's true that you know evil when you see it, but it's the blur of conflict. Judgments on the subject of evil are more emotional than precise or theological. Human nature, instinctive, subjective, hyperbolic, and profoundly partisan, take sides. So it came to pass in recent days that acknowledgement of the patent evil of Hamas's assault on October 7th became shadowed, and then in some minds reversed by the steps that Israel is taking to defend itself. Is it possible to commit evil in attempting however brutally, to protect yourself against evil? The question is sort of Zen koan, with a falsehood at its heart, called a solecism of equivalence. Much of history is mere anecdote. It may be the obscure but vivid little cruelty that sticks in the mind. The Palestinian friend, old and sick and dying of blood infection, was being transferred from a West Bank hospital to one in Jerusalem when the ambulance was stopped at the Israeli checkpoint. Time was critical. The border guards, out of boredom, I suppose, or lazy malice, stalled and dithered, searching the ambulance and endlessly rechecking my friend's identity. The guard manning the checkpoint's computer did so while reclining languidly in his chair. At one point, he pressed the enter button with his toe. The gesture took one at least into the suburbs of evil, did it not? A touch of evil? My friend made it to the hospital, but by and by, he died. Not necessarily because of what happened at the checkpoint, but partially, I'm certain, because of the strain of a lifetime of accumulated rage. These things add up. Rage often does the work of evil and produces some of the same effects. This is not an easy essay to digest. While some might disagree with Morrow, I brought this essay to your attention to emphasize what he is really saying, that in the face of true evil, there is no equivocating. Hamas is true evil. Coming up, commentary through cartoons where pictures tell the story. I'm going to show you 3 cartoons and 1 tweet today. This first cartoon is of 2 Israeli soldiers looking out at Gaza. One says to the other, if Hamas kills us, the world condemns us. If we retaliate, the world condemns us. I'm sensing a disturbing trend. In this next cartoon, we see Joe Biden and Iran's Grand Ayatollah Khamenei, both with their dogs. The Iranian dog is called Hamas. Biden says, you got a problem with your dog too? The President of the United States is referring to his White House pet, Commander, the dog that has bit so many White House employees and people and security people so often. Finally, he had to be removed from the president's residence. I think 14 people. The Iranian leader responded by saying, no, mine is well trained. So biting, so on target. Pun intended there. Next up is a picture of Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, his head sticking out of a tank, and its turrets pointed in both directions. The caption reads, two-state solution. The road sign points to Hamas in one direction and Hezbollah in the other direction. Next, we see a tweet from James Wood, the award-winning actor and screen stage. The tweet reads, need a ticket? One way will do. He includes a photo of a protest during which people are holding a sign that reads, Jews for Palestine. And in the corner, the sign reads, boycott Israeli apartheid. In a moment, more of my own perspective and a few predictions. Language counts. Israel is being attacked not only militarily, but also linguistically. In the spirit of even-handedness, leading figures and organizations justify terror and whitewash terrorists. Like the statement, it did not happen in a vacuum. United Nations Secretary General Guterres told the UN Security Council that the Hamas massacre of Israelis on October 7th did not happen in a vacuum because Palestinians have been subjected to 56 years of suffocating occupation. That's a quote, suffocating occupation. He said that he is deeply concerned about the clear violations of international humanitarian law that we are witnessing in Gaza. Like those calling Hamas militants and combatants and not terrorists, AP, the world's largest news agency, updated their style guide, instructing reporters and organizations that rely on the style guide not to call Hamas a terrorist organization. It suggests the following words: militants, Hamas fighters, attackers, or combatants. There's more. Israel is fighting a battle for survival on another front, not on the Gaza border or the Lebanese border, not on the ground and not in the air. This is a battle over the facts, a battle for truth. It's being waged on the internet, in the blogosphere, in the media. The parallel is Holocaust denial. Those who challenge the veracity of the horrors perpetrated on October 7th, they say Hamas did not murder children. This massacre denial is ripping through the Muslim and Arab world, as well as in other communities, especially young adult communities online. Even Queen Rania of Jordan, in a 19-minute interview, claimed that babies were not killed. The truth is precious. It should not be trampled upon. At times, even the United States is unsure of how to proceed in explaining the events that have overtaken the world these past few weeks. The U.S. wants to separate American airstrikes in Syria from the conflict between Israel and Gaza. The U.S. is blinded by the delusion that the attacks against U.S. forces by Iranian proxies are not connected to the conflict between Israel and Hamas. The United States is making a big mistake. Of course they're connected. It is not only connected in the eyes of the United States, it's connected to everyone, especially Iran. Of course they're connected. Iran connects them. The link is unbroken. Iran supports Hamas in Gaza, as well as the Shiite militias. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, are comfortably ensconced in Syria and in Lebanon. They support Hezbollah. Iran is behind the attacks that are perpetrated and by their proxies. They attack U.S. forces, and the United States attacks the forces just as Hamas attacks Israel and the IDF then attacks Gaza. Remember, Russia and China are sitting in the region also, ready and able to chime in. This last item is a 3-minute duet performed at the Israeli Opera. The piece is being performed from Les Mis. It's titled Bring Him Home, and it's performed by Oded Reich and Anat Charney, accompanied by a pianist. Bring Him Home is sung actually in a mix of Hebrew and English. The Hebrew is a translation of the English/French. It's commemorating those killed and those taken hostage. The opera house is chillingly empty as they sing.
him home. Od hayom, bring them
We've been thinking out loud about a lot today. Now that you know what I've been thinking, let me know what you're thinking. Email me at micah@jbstv.org. Tweet me at Micah Halpern. Tell me what you think. Before we end, let me leave you with two picanti pieces. Two tonight instead of one. I've decided to end with two powerful items. One is a story, and one is a short song with a very happy addendum. The story took place in Jerusalem a few days ago. A woman went to her neighborhood grocery store to buy bread and milk, and among the products in the shelves she saw a little boy looking for something. The shopper saw a small noticeable tag on the boy's shirt. A very curious woman by nature, she asked the boy, "What is this tag?" And the sweet boy answered with a shy face and a special purity, "This is my soldier." She said, "What? What do you mean by that?" she asked. Matter-of-factly, he responded, "This is my soldier. I am responsible for that he will return home to his mother at the end of the war." "How are you responsible for him?" she asked. The boy answered, "I pray for him all day long. I study for him. I read Shema in bed for him. And so, through my prayers, he will return home. Because he guards me in Gaza, I guard him from Jerusalem." The woman was so moved, so touched, so overwhelmed, that she actually called the boy's school and told the story to the heads of school. Powerful, just powerful story. And now, a very short clip of the Israeli singer and songwriter David Broza, a living legend to many of his fans across the globe, singing Carole King's "You've Got a Friend." Since the outbreak of the war with Hamas, Broza has been traveling and playing at bases in towns all throughout Israel, but especially near the borders, to keep the spirits of Israelis up. He's doing 6 to 10 performances a day. Here we catch him in the border town of Ofakim, where he gave a performance, but 2 soldiers guarding the gate couldn't hear him. So he promised to come back and give them a private performance. For the 2 women, one was a lone soldier from Long Island named Rachel, and the other named Osher Beniso. Rosa asked if she plays an instrument. She says no, she sings. So they jam together. This is Israeli wartime Carole King. It's a cover, of course. It's incredible.
Osher Beniso. Ladies and gentlemen.
Travel, and you need some love and care, and nothing is going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten even your dark.
Turn dark and full of clouds. That old north wind should begin to.
After the jam session, David Broza called Rimon School of Music and secured the full scholarship for Osher. Thank you for thinking out loud with me, Micah Halpern. Let's think out loud again next week on JBS.